Hi, this is Cappy from Always in Stitches. We've got one of our customers here with us today who brought in your machine. Tell them your name.
Marge Costa.
Marge Costa. Okay, so Marge brought in her machine, and we talked to her ahead of time. She's had this machine for a while. It's a little mature. It's a Janome 10,000, which is a great machine in its day, but she's probably getting to the end of her life cycle. But we're going to talk about tension on this machine, and I'm going to try and help her understand how to set the proper tension on a sewing machine. So this one has some unique qualities in that it's an embroidery machine as well. So you're going to see some things that will be a little different than maybe what your standard sewing machine is, but it's still, the tension rules are going to apply. So the thing about tension, the most important thing you can learn about tension, is there's three things that affect your tension: thread, the needle you're using, and then the actual tension setting on your machine.
Which is where?
Which is going to be, probably it's built into this one in here somewhere,
Okay,
because of the way it's set up. Yeah, it's built up in a computer. A lot of times you'll have a dial up here that allows you to set your tension, but with this one you're going to have it set up inside your machine.
Okay.
The older machines, they sometimes have the tension settings set that way. I'm going to guess
And
that's...
newer machines have them? Oh.
They have a dial. They have a dialer. They will also have it necessarily built into the machine.
Okay.
So let's go back. We're going to do this to turn it off and on. Okay. So what happens with any machine, regardless of what machine you're using, is when you start having tension issues where it's bunching up on the bottom,
Right.
or the thread makes nests, or you're
Right.
skipping stitches, those are all related to thread, needle, and tension.
Okay.
And the first thing we tell every customer to do is rethread your machine. It's the silliest thing, but I can tell you 90% of the machines that come in here that they say, well, it just won't work, it's threaded wrong. And even though you may have threaded it 1,000 times, for some reason you'll miss one of the spots, and that will happen.
I can understand.
So whenever I have a tension issue, I'm always going to start first with my thread. Now there's lots of things to know about thread. There's all different kinds of thread on the market.
Okay.
I like Gutermann. I like Aurifil threads. They make a nice quality thread. This is the Aurifil thread. One of the reasons I like Aurifil threads is it also tells me the size of the thread. So this one tells me it's a 50 weight 2-ply.
Okay.
And that's one of the important things to know about a thread if you're going to be using it. When you're doing embroidery projects, you're probably using like shiny thread like this. This one does not tell me any of that information. I don't know what the ply is. I don't know the size of it. So I'm going to have to just guess what this is. So whenever you're buying thread, buy thread that you can get that information, because it will help you set the machine correctly and run it properly. There's all different kinds of thread.
Right.
And I have a whole bucket here full of thread. And I don't want to, say anything negative about another company, but there are some brands of thread that are not as very well made as others.
Right.
And what's important about using the right kind of thread is thread that's not going to get your machine dirty. Because some of the poorer quality threads are going to have problems with being very fuzzy. So when you look at the thread piece itself, there's fur and fuzz on that thread. And that just means you're going to clean your machine more often. So we start with our thread. Use the best quality thread you can afford.
Okay.
The other thing is, and you've done it here, a lot of times people do this, you want your thread on your bobbin to match the thread on your top needle.
Okay, now you're going to tell me why.
I am going to tell you why. What happens when they dye thread and they put the color into thread, the different colors of dye create different tensile strength for the thread.
Okay.
So when I have two threads and they're trying to sew against each other, and I have this little piece of paper here, there's a thing called balance. We say the word tension, but I'd like you to think more in terms of balance.
Okay.
So when my thread comes through this way from the bobbin and my thread comes through this way from the top, they have to connect in the middle of my piece of fabric.
Right.
If this thread on the bottom has a different tension than the thread on the top, they don't match properly.
Okay.
So the machines are set up to catch the fabric or catch the thread and make that happen.
Okay.
If I have a strength of tension on this thread just because of the color, and a strength of this tension just because of the color is different, it makes setting the tension a little more difficult. You can do it,
Okay.
but it's not easy. And a lot of times you'll have pops of color. So the green will come to the top or the
Right.
white will come to the
Right.
bottom. You're going to
does.
have that. It's just part of what happens because it's extremely difficult to have that thread connect exactly perfectly in the middle of your piece of fabric. Okay? So I know a lot of times quilters say, well, my back is black and my top
Right,
is white, so
right.
I want to use white on the black and back on the
Right.
top. But you're going to get those little pops all along your stitches. White's going to come to the
So
top,
what's
black's
the
going to come.
solution then?
Use the same color on both sides. Use a gray that's maybe neutral. Use the black on the top and it's going to be white on the back. All your quilting is going to show that way, and it's okay. It's
Okay.
part of the design of the project. You don't have to always match your colors.
Colors, okay.
Okay?
I guess I've always felt I had to.
You don't know. Okay, so I'm going to bust this up. There's no rules.
Okay,
You can do whatever you want. It's your quilt.
okay.
Okay? And if it makes you feel good about it, go ahead and do it that way, because it's not hard, fast, solid rules. If you want to make a match, you can do it, but be prepared for that pop to happen
Right.
between the two. The way to solve that is to loosen your upper tension sometimes, because it depends on if the darker or the lighter color's there,
Okay,
because they're not going to match.
right,
Play with it for a while and adjust your tensions till you get it where it doesn't pop.
okay.
But that's kind of difficult to do.
I would say.
It is
for-
very difficult.
right,
Okay.
for personal-
It is, and that's why I tell most people don't even, it's
Try it.
kind of like, you can do it if you want. You either have to live with the little dots of
Right,
color,
that-
and if that drives you crazy, then pick a color that you can live with on both sides.
The dots wouldn't bother me, but the pucker, where it gathers up together.
Well, now, it shouldn't gather, you should
Well,
just,
the thread all, gets caught underneath, I guess. The top thread did in this, when it was on the top. The top thread gathered.
yeah, well, these are two different types of thread. These are, I would wager to say this is a cotton. I would wager to say, no, that's a poly, they're both
They're
polys.
polys.
They're both polys,
That's what I
but,
thought.
but they're gonna be a different weight because of the dyeing
Dyeing,
process.
okay.
Okay? They're just gonna have a different tensile strength, and that's
So
just,
it does, because I always use Goodman, and so it doesn't matter, it's the fact that one is colored and one is white, okay.
or, well, one is red and one is blue, one is
Right,
green,
two
one is
different
yellow.
colors.
The dyeing process changes the strength and the
Of the-
tensile strength of the piece of thread.
Okay, so on the quilt, my top is the dark green and the bottom is white, so instead of doing two different colors, you would recommend sticking with one?
I would, unless you're willing to take the time to really fiddle with those settings and get it right.
Right.
You can do it, but typically most of us don't want to take the time to
Well,
figure it
no.
out. Yeah. Okay, so that's the important thing about thread. Then you always want to be sure you thread the machine properly. This machine has the horizontal bobbin here. There's one you can put here. When they're cross-hatched like that, putting the thread horizontal is helpful. But you have a post that goes in here that if I had thread that was thread like this on a spool,
Okay.
I would want to put that thread here.
Oh,
Okay, so you have two choices. And then I'm going to put my spool cap on to hold it in place because I don't want that moving. And I want these little teeth that could potentially catch my thread
okay,
to that way, because I don't want my thread to pull off of those
okay.
and get caught.
I know when I have accidentally turned it the other way, the spool, I've had problems.
Yes, you will, because it's going to catch on that.
On that, that's what's
Right,
called, okay.
right. So you
see?
want to keep it there, okay? And then you're going to follow directions on your machine that shows you how to thread it. Every machine's a little different. But you want to be sure you catch all the little places. There's a spot beside the needle. There's a spot in front of the needle. Get the directions out for your sewing machine, or have
Right.
wherever you bought your machine, have them show you how to do that. And then, which kind of thread was this one got? Oh, it's got the automatic threader. We're just going to thread this one.
I don't like the automatic thread, I don't know why. I prefer to thread it myself.
And that's okay, as long as you can see, do it that way. Okay, so here we go. You know what? I'm going to need is an empty bobbin. I don't have an empty bobbin. You don't have any empty bobbins with you either, do you?
Not with me.
Not with you.
I have tons of them.
You have tons at home. I know, I do
Yes.
too. Okay, well, we're going to do the bad thing here. I could run and get one, but we'll just do this. Okay, so then the other thing is whenever you put the bobbin thread in, every machine has a different way.
Right.
The Janome brand and the Elma 2 have a little diagram on their thing, and see how the thread comes off and up? You want to be sure that's exactly the way you put that thread in the machine. Because if you put your bobbin in the wrong way,
Right.
you're going to have problems. Okay?
Okay.
So
now-
this is going to go off the side here,
Right.
an empty bobbin. So when I put the bobbin in, I want to be sure I follow the directions on my machine.
Right.
So this is going to, the thread's coming off so that it looks like the letter P.
Okay.
Okay? It's going to come down and catch, there's a disc
Right.
here
Right there.
and one here. Okay? It's real important that that be exactly threaded that way. If you don't get through those tension
And right
dials,
Here.
no. Here. I'm going to drop this in here and show you. See the arrow right there?
Yeah.
Catch that.
Right. I
Come
do.
up. And come up just like this. And then there's a little
Oh.
hole right there, so
Huh.
I can put this cap back on, and that thread just sticks out the top. And then if you look at the picture, it looks exactly like the picture.
Okay.
Okay, and then I'm going to, your foot's real loose, I'm going to use my needle up and down button to pull the thread up. And that's pulled my bobbin thread up. So I can start sewing. Okay? And then that way I know everybody's tension and everybody's set like they should. The other thing is when you put your presser foot down, you should have a sense of what it feels like when you pull on that thread. So when I pull, see, just tug on that. See how there's some tension to that?
Right.
And you can tell that. And
And it should be like that.
absolutely, when your presser foot is down, you should be able to tug that and have that tension. If you don't have any tension when you tug on that, when the presser foot's down, you've missed something.
Huh.
So you should know, I tug on that, I feel that tension. So we're going to fill a bobbin real quick because I'm going to do what I said. The other thing is filling bobbins. You want to be sure when you fill a bobbin, you get a good tension on your bobbin. This is a nice, I like this bobbin. This has been filled well. It's firm, it's not wobbly,
I know,
it's
but
nice and flat.
sometimes it does, and so what causes that then?
It's not threaded right when you put it on the machine to thread it.
When you put it on?
Yeah, so here you go. So I've got directions that show me exactly how to thread
Right.
my bobbin. Okay? And I have to follow that exactly. And the main thing is there's a little tension dial down in there.
Okay.
If it doesn't catch that, it's not going to give you the right tension. And then you can, sometimes people push it through that hole, but I've done this long enough. I prefer to just wrap it around a few times and catch it again.
Huh.
And then we should have, this is not a machine I'm familiar with. Oh, there we go, bobbin winding. Now,
Won't that cause a problem now when you held that together so long? That was such a long strip?
it wasn't that, it's going to be on the inside of the bobbin. It's all the way on the inside.
Okay.
It looped it up on the inside. And so I should get, I'm just going to do enough here. I should get, see that's firm. That's what I want.
Right. That's,
I want firm.
yeah,
I don't want that loose at all. So now I've got some firmness to that. It's nice and tight.
okay.
Okay? So now we're going to thread. I've got the same color in the top, same color in the bottom. That way I know I've got good tensile strength. And if I wanted to, I could take the time to put two different colors, but that's a lesson for another day. Needle up and down. And that's the other thing. I'm going to put that needle up and down once just to be sure I'm in the right place when I thread it. So I want this lift arm at the top.
Yes, I found that to be true.
Yeah, if you miss that spot, you're in
Boy,
you're in trouble. Yeah, you are
Yes.
in trouble. All right. Okay, so that's all about thread. I mean, there's a lot more about thread. We could talk about the different weights, the different ply, and all the choices you have when sewing with thread. That's one of the fun things about, I think, quilting, is the opportunity to use all different weights and colors and styles, and you can do some pretty amazing things.
But then you really need someone to explain the different threads and weights and which ones you use for which
I do a
material.
whole class called TNT, and that's a perfect clue. You're doing good. That's one of the things. We're going to do a video of my TNT class. It's called Thread Needle Tension. I'm just trying to give you a little short version of it today so I can
Okay.
help you. But that's a video we're going to put on our YouTube page, and I go through all the different things about thread that you could possibly. I'm kind of a thread freak. I'm fascinated by how thread works. There's so much you could learn about sewing machine thread and embroidery and hand applique and all that threads. I mean, I have all different kinds of threads here in my box that I play with just to show you the different weights and textures. There's metallic. Thread is the most wonderful opportunity to be very creative in your quilts, and we never use it. So the question you had was, how do I get the machine tensioned properly? So I
Right.
gave you a little bit about thread.
Right.
So that you could understand the importance of thread in tensioning your machine. But it's a huge part of getting proper tension, okay?
Now, you said you were gonna put that on YouTube. You don't
Yes.
have it on like a disc or something?
No, I don't have it on a disc, but we're going to put YouTube videos up so our customers can take some of our classes virtually, and that's when we're going to offer that way.
Okay.
Okay.
And you're gonna start doing that when?
As soon as I get time to make more videos.
Okay.
But yeah, that's in our future plans here, but hopefully we'll get that done sooner rather than later.
Okay.
But that's a brief overview on thread, but you're exactly right. Thread is a huge part of our quilt. When you consider how much
Right.
thread goes into any
Right,
project,
any quilt.
you really need to know more about thread than what anybody
Right.
ever understands. It's the most important thing of your quilt. It's what holds the whole thing together, quite literally.
Right.
So yes, it's a huge part of the process. Okay, so let's play with a little bit of thread. So I've threaded my machine. I know my bobbin matches my thread. I've made sure everybody's in the right place. So everything with my thread at this point is good. The next part, TNT, is needle. And I could spend hours talking about needles too. So I have another little thing. I'm going to send you home with this handout.
All good.
So this is all about needles. So the funny thing about thread is the higher the thread number, the thinner the thread. So a 50 weight thread compared to an 80 weight thread is going to be, the thinner thread will be the 80 weight, the thicker thread will be the 50 weight, okay? Needles are exactly the opposite. So the higher the needle number is, the needle gets thicker. So when you're looking at a package of needles and it says, say, the number 12 or the number 14 or 16, those numbers are the bigger needles have bigger numbers. The smaller numbers have smaller needles, okay? So if you're doing quilting, for instance, you're going to want maybe a size 11 or a 12 is a good size needle. The other thing is you want to buy the machine needle that goes with your machine. So each company has a specific needle that works in their machine. For the Janome company, they use the Oregon brand needles. Some of the other brands of machines have a Swiss-made needle. So the eye of the needle, where it's located within the needle itself, is positioned so that the machine that's sewing has to look for that eye in the right place. So if you're putting a needle in for your machine that's not made for your machine, the hook can't catch the thread. So here's a diagram here that shows stitch formation. What has to happen is the needle has to come down, and there's a little loop that it makes, and that's where the hook race comes around with the bobbin thread and loops through there. So, and that space is so tiny. So if your needle eye is in the wrong place because you're using the wrong needle for your machine, the loop's in the wrong place and it won't make the stitch.
I hope you tell these people when they first buy their machines this, because nobody's ever told me this.
You know, we hear that a lot. That's one of the important things about when people buy a machine with us. We always tell them, buy your needle that matches your machine. So when we
I've never
service
heard
machines, we do the same thing. We usually send home a pack of needles with them that says, you know, you need to use those
that
needles.
type.
Because it really does make a difference. I'm not making a fortune selling machine needles, okay? This is not a marketing ploy. This is because our service tech gets machines that have the wrong brand of needle. No matter what brand of machine it is, there is a needle that goes in your machine. And you can't just pick anything. You wouldn't buy a Ford and put Toyota parts in it.
Right.
Same is true of sewing machine needles. Some of the machine needle companies will say, oh, it'll work in any machine. It will work, potentially, but if you have problems, that's one of the things to check, is the needle. So thread, we're going to use the right needle. We're going to use a fresh needle. That means every new project deserves a new needle. So 8 hours of use on a needle is plenty of time to replace the needle. Okay? So here's how I want you to remember this. If you started high school as a freshman with a number 2 pencil that had a beautiful sharp point on it, and as a senior, you're writing your senior paper, and you're still using the same number 2 pencil you started with as a freshman, and you never sharpened it.
Oh, well, that would I taught for too many years.
Oh, you're a teacher. Oh, that's perfect. So you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Right.
Exactly the same thing's true of the needle in your machine. So if your needle is dull, we're going to go back to the tension issue and the thread. If your needle is dull, it can't push through the fabric quickly enough. It can't get there to make the loop, to make the tension. You asked a simple question, you're getting a huge answer, I know.
I am.
But that's why it doesn't work. So if your needle is dull, if your needle's the wrong needle, you're not going to get good tension. You got 2 strikes against you, and we're using the wrong thread. You can see why this just turns into a snowball. You're going to get sent to detention. That's right.
And I was.
And you were, oh no, not as a teacher.
No, but as a quilter.
As a quilter, no, we're not, there's no judge.
I couldn't understand what was happening, why it was happening.
So many people don't understand.
No.
And then this is kind of my goal, is to get all our customers to be able to come in the store and go, somebody explained this to me, now I get it. Now I get it, and I want to do it better. Because nobody's going to do it perfect, but boy, it's nice when you have the information that makes it more effective.
Right.
Okay, so we're going to use the right thread, we're going to use the right needle, we're going to use a fresh needle. Sometimes I've even taken a brand new needle out of the package, and for some reason there's a little burr on it, and that makes it not work well.
Right.
So I'll have to, replace the needle, put a brand new needle in, put another brand new needle in if I'm having issues. But you always want to use the next. So I'm going to ask you, how long have you had this needle in here?
He just put that in there.
Good. Okay, so she's fresh.
Right.
She's fresh. Okay, so TNT. I always think of like the cartoon where the thing was going to blow up, like TNT. When your machine's going to make your head blow up because it's not right, what does it stand for? Thread, which we've talked about.
Right,
Needle,
needle.
now we've talked about.
And
And then tension. Okay, so now we got to talk a little bit about what happens when the tension's wrong and understanding what's happened. So I have here where the thread and the needle are coming together.
Right.
So sometimes the thread lands on top. I'm going to flip this over. Sometimes the thread wants to be on top of the fabric, or this is perfect tension, but sometimes the thread's going on the wrong side. The bobbin thread is pulling up to the top and it's not like it should be. Or the other way around, the bobbin thread is all the way on the bottom and I have all the top thread coming through. What we want is balance, okay? So it's like a tug of war. In your standard sewing machines that you use in your home, typically your bobbin tension you never tangle with. The machine comes with a set bobbin tension.
Well, that's what I thought.
Yes.
When I got this, that's what they told me. That's why I never monkeyed with it.
Well, but there's this thing, and were you a home ec teacher?
No.
Okay, good. I don't want to hurt anybody home ec teachers. Okay, so the home ec teachers, when I was in school, a few years ago, always told you, don't touch your bobbin tension, don't touch your bobbin tension. You never touch the bobbin tension. Well, they didn't even want us to mess with the other tension. Well, I get it. They had 30 kids. They don't want to mess it up. But here's the truth. You can adjust your bobbin tension, and as a machine gets used, as she gets a little more mature, sometimes the bobbin tension gets a little loose. That's a good reason to have our tech check it out, because he can check it. And sometimes you need to even replace your bobbin case because it just gets worn out.
He did.
He gave you a new bobbin case.
He did.
How'd I guess that?
Well, he didn't give it to me.
He made you pay for it, didn't he? But that's what happens. When they get a
Right.
little older, that tension spring gets a little loosened, and it needs to have a new bobbin tension on it. And if you've been used to working with it without good tension, to get a machine that's working with good tension might have made it a little different from what you're used to.
Could have been that.
Could have been. Okay, so I'm going to sew with this, and I'm just going to do a straight stitch. And I'm going to actually sew on the wrong side of this because it's a little more of a contrast. I'm glad you had green thread, that's gonna show up well. So I just have 2 layers of cotton. That's not very much fabric.
No.
It's really not. So I don't really have to worry about my stitch length being bigger to accommodate several layers or thickness of fabric. I can stay within a short stitch length. Now let's look on your machine and see, where do you adjust? Okay, so see what I have with this machine. This is my needle position.
Right.
This is my stitch length. And this is my tension.
This is the tension.
That's the tension.
Huh.
Yeah.
Did not know that.
So I can go up or down here and change my tension. I can hear it clicking. And what it's doing is it's pushing those tension discs together. And this is going to take them apart. So it started out at 4.5. That is typically, your machine will have a setting that it thinks everything should go to. This one doesn't have it. Some of the more newer machines, they'll have an auto setting, what's called an auto setting, and that just means the thread's not significant enough that the machine has to make an adjustment. Now, if I'm using a super fine thread, which would be a number 100, because the bigger the number, the thinner the thread, and then I went to a size 40 thread, which is a much thicker thread, those tension discs that hold the thread are going to have to move apart a little bit.
Okay, let me ask you a question. When do you use that real thin thread compared to
Some people will use it for embroidery, if you're going to do embroidery on your machine. If you're doing very fine embroidery work, you would want to use the thin thread. Hand applique, a lot of times use the thinner thread. It also is really pretty for piecing. If you really want your thread to disappear in your piecing, you could use it for that. A lot of our art quilters will really take extremes in thread. I mean, we've got thread, you know, you've got, I'm back to my thread discussion. I could teach you so much about thread. So there's fiber, look at this thread. This is what's called a, isn't that thick?
That is.
But you could actually run that through your machine, but look how thick it is compared to this.
I have some like this. Like
metallic threads. So these are typically used when you want to decorate and do something different on the machine. But you can use them, you just have to know, I have a tension disc, am I going to push it apart or pull it and push it to give room?
I just assumed that the machine knew.
Well, some do, but even in that extreme, they're not going to know. They're not going to know. They're not going to know. Okay, so I got the right thread, I got the right needle, I've got the right fabric, I've got the speed set that's tolerable, so I'm going to leave my speed in about the middle, and then we're going to start sewing. Let's see what she does. So I'm going to go pretty fast.
I've never done it without the corner. That's amazing.
Yeah, I love using it.
That somebody should have explained that.
Yeah. So this thread, you can see it's meeting and laying flat. It looks like it's about right. I might, the top thread, it's going to be hard to see. The top thread is pulling down a little bit into the bobbin area, just a scooch. But if I was just doing basic piecing, I would be okay with this stitch. I really would. It looks like it should. And I'm going to do this to mess it up. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to really tighten that top thread. And maybe we can see what it does. Let's do this too. Let's make the stitch really long. Sometimes that helps you see the problem. I actually, when I teach this class, what I make you do is mess it all up so we can fix it. Well, that's the only way you learn.
Well, that's true.
You know what? Do it so badly wrong and then fix it. And it may, when you lengthen the stitch, it gives it room. Yeah, see, when you lengthen the stitch, it gives it room to compensate for the problem. So let's make her a little shorter stitch again. Let's go back to 2.5 and see what we get. Yeah, she's actually laying really well. And it's because it's the same color thread, it can compensate. So it's laying nicely on there. I can just see where the other thread's pulling through. And same thing, it's laying through here. It's just about right. So that has good tension on it now. Let's go back up to where it was and see what it does. It was on 4.5. No, I don't want to change it. I want to leave that the same. It's the stitch tension I want to change. Let's go back up with that. Let's see what we get now. And then when Jeff's standing over there, I see him hiding. He's our service tech. What he does to test the tension, you want to come in and talk about how you test it? He actually does a zigzag stitch.
Yeah, I do a zigzag on 5 and 3, which tells you when the bobbin tension is perfect.
You want to do, oh, okay. Come on, go back.
Back up there, down below there you go.
So you do a zigzag stitch.
Yeah.
And what do you set your,
Adjust, go up to adjust, right
What-
there.
what
There
do you-
go. I do 5 and 3, which 5 is already is there. You just bring that one up to the next one over up to 3. So length.
the stitch length, you want at 3, and the
Yeah,
tensions?
Yes, 5 and 3 is how I tell if the bobbin is adjusted right. You'll see just a little bit of knot on the bottom, and that's it.
Okay, let's do that. And then you know this button makes it stop and lock at the end, right? Okay, nope. All right, so there's the top thread, and I can
Right.
just barely see the bottom thread coming up. And there's the bottom thread. I can just get a little bit of a pull.
Yeah, you get just a little bit on the bottom, and that's all you need. And that tells you that the bobbin tension is set perfect with the upper tension.
Huh.
Yeah, I would actually probably adjust that. Her tension was actually, for this machine, the default was
4.2 on straight and 3.0 on zigzag. I already remember.
Well,
I messed with this for quite a while.
did you? This one, when it's set at the default would be 4.2 though, if I hadn't set it.
Yeah, that straight stitch is 4.2 default.
Yeah. Let's see what that did with the zigzag. Oh, that's even better. Yep.
But you just play with it until it looks right before you
Yeah.
start sewing.
So, and if I had several layers of batting thing, I would probably have to adjust that tension.
Okay.
But what I would suggest, if you feel you're not getting a good tension on whatever you're sewing, take out exactly the thread, exactly the fabric,
Right.
sew on it and adjust these numbers until you feel like you get a good tension. And use this chart to help you.
This one is the tension.
This is the tension. See, I told you about the two stitches connecting?
Right.
There's a picture. The red one is the top one, the black
Right.
one is the bottom one. And they have to connect in the middle. And that's what this is showing you right here.
Okay, change it, does it change that picture then?
No, it doesn't
No,
change the picture.
doesn't change it.
No.
Okay.
She's not that smart.
It's a she, huh?
Well, you can make it a she or he, whatever you want to make it. We usually tell people when you get a new machine, you got to name it. We had a gal in a quilt guild who sent out a birth announcement that she had a new baby, and everybody thought she had a new baby, and she did. She got a new sewing machine. So you could cause a little rattle. Does that help you today, you think?
Yes.
Perfect. Or scared you?
Well, it's a little bit of both. Again, I haven't really played with the machine enough.
Okay.
I've made a lot of things, but I don't feel qualified to monkey around.
Oh, monkey. Okay, here's the thing. Here's what I want to tell you. You can't break it.
But person of my age is leery.
We all are. It's not just everybody. We're afraid to push the buttons and mess it. Here's the trick. Okay, here's the trick. Watch.
Remember I told you on the phone, turn it off and turn it back on, and everything resets back to where it was.
She doesn't
Oh,
remember.
she
When
doesn't
you
remember
turn
what she
her
did.
off,
Okay.
she
goes
went
back
to
to
sleep
default.
in a deep sleep, and she's forgotten everything that ever happened before.
Okay.
And so now we
you
turn
can
her
start
back
all
on,
over.
and
Okay.
she's fresh.
Huh.
So don't be afraid to touch the dials. Now mechanically, please don't take the cover off and start taking things apart. But this part of the machine, she's just a computer.
And I noticed on one of your notes you said something about that I had cleaned with a Q-tip, and I have. What
Yeah.
should I use?
Q-tip is fine, just don't wanna blow in the top.
Don't use compressed air to blow air into the machine
Like,
ever.
can I blow into it?
No.
What it
Can
does,
I
that
blow
blows
into
the
it?
stuff down inside the mechanism.
So, okay, so when
Oh.
okay, we're all wearing masks right now. You know
I
the
know.
moisture
Yes, it
that
drives
builds
me
up in your
crazy.
mask and makes you crazy? Every time you blow air in your machine, you're giving her a bath with your spit. Quite frankly, it's a
Well,
spit
you're
bath.
pushing all the lint down inside to make it even
Yeah,
dirtier inside.
and you're pushing
Oh.
all that lint all up in the machine. And here's the problem. When he takes this case off, all the times you've blown that lint, it's gone up inside of this machine. They're not supposed to have insulation. And that's what it looks like. It looks like it's
There you
full of
go. There's
insulation.
what it looks like inside a machine. That's not yours.
You're kidding.
But that's what happens when it all gets put down inside.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's like a rat nest. And that slows your machine. That makes your tension not happen because then the thread and the needle can't connect
So
with
you
each
can
other.
still use the Q-tips, just don't blow.
Yeah,
Don't blow.
Q-tip it all
You know what I want you, the
Okay.
best thing you can do, I want you to take this off, I want to take your bobbin off, I want you to take this foot off,
Right.
and then take a vacuum cleaner and suck this instead of blow. And there's a screw right
Yes, I
here.
unscrew it. I
Unscrew
take
that,
out.
and then take this little black bobbin holder out, because
Right.
that's loose. Take all that out, and then take the vacuum cleaner that has the brush on it, you know, the round one,
Yeah.
and just set it on top of there and just let it suck it out.
Yep.
That's the best thing you can do
That's
for
the
your
best
machine.
thing. Okay.
Because then you're not pushing it in there. Now, mind you, it keeps our service guy in business if you keep blowing
I'm
air
sure.
in there.
Sure,
But
I'm
but
busy.
truly, if you take this foot plate off and then just put a vacuum cleaner on top of that and suck it out, it's really the best thing you can do. There's little crevices and things, and
Right.
your machine should have come with a little brush or even
Yeah.
a fine paintbrush. Get back up in there and kind of dig those out so they all come out.
Right.
But do not blow air into your machine
But the
and
vacuum will suck stuff that's down underneath up too.
Right.
Because the
Okay.
or if you
vacuum-
break a needle, that's a really good way to get the parts of the needle. You know, occasionally a needle will break. Suck it out. Don't blow it in. Suck it out.
Okay.
That's the best thing.
Okay.
All right?
Well, the good thing is if you run into a problem and you can't figure it out, call us.
Yeah, call us.
We'll walk you through it.
We'll walk you through
Okay.
it. And then when this girl's ready to retire and sit on the shelf and just look pretty, you let us know. We'll get you into a new one. You'll be surprised. But this is a great machine. I'm not going to say anything bad. If all you're doing is sewing with it, then keep on using her. She's going to be wonderful for that. If you would decide you want to start doing some embroidery, though, the computer in this is about a 15-year-old laptop, and she can't
Yeah,
figure
see,
it out.
that doesn't thrill.
Okay, perfect.
does
Then
that.
you know what? You keep running this girl. She's
Okay.
a good girl. She'll keep going for you. But he can still get parts and things for her, but there'll come a point where it's going to get a little complicated that way.
Okay.
But continue to use the good thread. I like the Gutermann thread. Continue to replace the needle regular
Needle with the needle.
with
that
the
goes
Oregon
with
brand needles. Yeah, use the.
Well, they don't say Oregon, don't they just say Genoma?
They say Janome.
That's what I thought.
They say Janome. They're made by the Oregon company.
Okay.
Okay.
On the needle, it'll say Oregon.
It'll
on
say
the
Oregon.
container, it says Genome.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
And good thread, good needle. Understand your tension. You took the piece of
Right.
paper.
Right.
Understand how your tension
Right.
works, and then play with your tension. Use different fabrics and see if you can get the tension out of whack and put it
I
back.
pretty much stick with the cotton.
There you go. Well,
I'm not-
she has a good stitch right now, but I have the same color thread in there, and you were starting with two different colors
Right.
of thread.
So I will not do that.
Well,
anymore.
Well, you can, but
Well,
just
I know, but I'm better off not.
Well,
Yeah.
there are two different weights too.
that's what I was
Right,
telling.
that's
you.
what
That's
she
why it
was
shows
saying.
on there underneath
Yeah.
what the difference is.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I think we got you set.
I think.
Peter, are you ready to be? Hopefully that's going to be a little bit of a long video for somebody to watch, but maybe it'll help somebody else. I hope so. I hope so.
I hope
Be
so
wa-
too,
yeah.
because boy, you know, like I said, nobody ever, and I bought two different machines, well, both Genomes. but-
Yeah. I think what happens is we just don't realize how important our tools are to our craft. And if you have a tool that's running well, your craft will turn out much better. And that's the goal, is to teach you how to use this and optimize what it
Well,
does.
and when you started, I started as a young girl with a little singer.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
We all did.
with a pedal.
Yeah.
You know, and then you progress to a computer.
Oh, yeah.
It's a big change.
It is a big change, but that's why we're here. We want to help you. We want you to enjoy
yeah.
using it, okay?
Okay. So you're saying if I don't embroidery, then